This video is brought to you by Gamersubs. Use code MHB at checkout for 10% off your next order. With the upcoming release of Rings of Power Season 2 approaching, despite not being interested in the show, it did put me in the mood to go and play some Lord of the Rings video games. So, being the generous man I am, I gave my community a chance to vote in which Lord of the Rings game we platinum next for the channel. Yeah, that was a big mistake because Gollum ended up winning by a landslide. I'd like to say this was a surprise, but it really wasn't. Every time I brought up this idea, Gollum would just get spammed in the chat, and that's why it was even in the poll in the first place. Now, I was, sadly, a day one buyer of Gollum, which I know is sad even in itself, but I bought the game because even though it didn't look great, it couldn't be that bad, right? Well, shortly after buying the game, I saw the reviews come flooding in, and this genuinely scared me off from playing. Not enough to return the game for whatever reason, but put it right at the bottom of the backlog for an occasion like this, apparently. So to get myself in the Lord of the Rings spirit, I can't believe this is what I'm doing to myself, it's time to finally play and platinum Gollum to see if the game truly is as bad as I've heard. I mean, maybe I'll be the new Loxagon. Apparently this has been all just a big misunderstanding to disparage the true best game of 2023. Baldur's Gate who? No, but seriously, I'm going in with the lowest expectations. It should be better than that at least, right? As always, if you do end up enjoying the content, be sure to like the video, comment below some more platinums you'd like to see me tackle next, subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, go over to twitch.tv/MayorHairBear, where we stream this entire platinum journey live, or MayorHairBear VODs in case you can't catch the streams, but still enjoy hours and hours of content. So what is the platinum journey like for Gollum? Well, according to PSN profiles, the game ranks a 6 out of 10 in terms of difficulty, takes 2 playthroughs, and should take around 25 hours to complete. Now step-wise, this is pretty straightforward. Step 1 regards to the first playthrough, and this is where a bulk of the work gets done, as we need to get all but 2 of the trophies done. What are the remaining 2 trophies? Well, first is to do with the choices or arguments Gollum and Smeagol have amongst themselves. And in our first playthrough, we're choosing all of Smeagol's options, meaning in our second playthrough, we just have to do the opposite and side with Gollum. Simple enough. The issue is that second trophy called How Did You Do That?, which is for completing the entire game without seeing a game over screen. That's no dying or getting caught. That is where the 6 out of 10 difficulty comes from, because as you'll see, this game doesn't work the way it's supposed to. But we'll get back to this later in the video. First things first, we needed to get through playthrough number 1, where the main focus was to side with Smeagol, find all the collectibles, and learn the levels the best we can for that daunting second playthrough. So I booted up Stream, loaded into the game, and away we went. The story for this game centers around the time Gollum gets captured and tortured by the Nazgul into revealing the location of the ring, and is basically a what-if scenario as to how Gollum got out and what he was up to before heading to Moria, where we get a sneak peek of him in the Fellowship. It's not canon, being inspired by Tolkien's Unfinished Tales and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but hey, it's an interesting premise if done right. It's not, but could have been an interesting idea. We begin the game in Mordor, where Gollum is lurking, and this first chapter serves as the tutorial where we learn the basics, starting off with the platforming, which is what the bulk of the gameplay revolves around. And by learning the basics, I mean at least how it should work. As you'll see, the gameplay just isn't consistent, whether it be in terms of jumps going too far or too short, not grabbing ledges, auto-grabbing things you didn't want, and just generally floaty platforming. But while we're doing all that, thankfully we do unlock a few trophies in this area, like for finding the first of the 35 collectibles. Whetstone. Collectibles Part 1. Oh, the trophy names are even fantastic too. Alright, we're on the board and we cannot back out. We're stuck. And once we find Gollum's hidey hole, grab our second trophy for interacting with all the cave paintings. There we go. Memories. Not long after, we find a Mordor spy, a bird who we try and chase down before they can reveal our location, and this is where we stumble across the orcs and this game's stealth and combat mechanics. The combat really isn't a thing. It feels like very few orcs can actually be taken out because most are wearing helmets, so it's mainly sneaking from bush to bush until you can get past a group of enemies. After you're done stealthing though is where our first argument comes into play, which again for this playthrough we were focusing on Smeagol, and all you need to do is persuade the other to do what you want. These moments have very little bearing on the story and really just highlight how terrible Gollum both sounds and looks, while also making that second playthrough even more unnecessary. And with that, we get busted by the Nazgul, and that's chapter 1 complete. Definitely possible. The Wraith! After being tortured by the Nazgul for that sweet info, we're stuck in a slave pit beneath Barad-dûr, and this is where we'll be spending most of this game. We quickly befriend the frail man who teaches us the ropes of this place so we can survive, doing odd jobs like wrangling in feral beasts, which is where I definitely died on purpose for a trophy. Oh. Welcome to Mordor. I didn't realize that was even a trophy. And recovering tags from the deceased, which saw us getting another trophy for jumping in the lava. I think there's a trophy for doing this. Wait, not yet! After a few days of some hard labor, the frail man clues us in on a way to escape, with step 1 being to steal the tower plans, which upon yeeting ourselves into the abyss, I like flying, is where we can unlock the trophy Nervous Hands, which is for completing this entire segment without taking damage, which I definitely completed my first attempt. When we get back to the elevator, it should pop. The bad plan. Alright, we didn't get it. Maybe it was because we exited the level? I can't tell. Yeah, we'll have to come back to this one later. But we managed to steal the plans and a bit later, blow up a bridge. Yeah, I was gonna say, that is ridiculous. I knew for a fact this is the type of game, if you do some like that, it's not gonna pause. But this is where our operation gets busted, as we all get caught by cruel woman. Yeah, Gollum doesn't care for names, and why would you when everyone is as interesting as cardboard? But we get out of this situation by blaming the orc who thought it was funny to steal our food, and finally complete the second chapter in the game. The maggot. Now I'll be honest, chapters 2 to 5 all feel like the same thing, which I mean definitely makes you feel stuck, so you nailed the vibe of the slave pit, but also story-wise it's a whole lot of who gives a crap. It feels like half the game is just waiting to leave this place, and I get it. I'm sure that's what Gollum was doing during this time, but like that doesn't make for a good story or a fun game. So to avoid boring you, I'm going to start speeding this up because the rest of the chapters in Barad-dûr don't have much going on trophy or story wise. Gollum goes back to his chores until one day he is taken to the tower to meet the Candleman, who I mean just looks ridiculous and not intimidating at all, but regardless, he basically enlists Gollum to be his spy on the ground level, giving him a new bird which basically does nothing and seems pointless other than to find us later in the game. The breeder. However many years later, we get a new cellmate, Grashneg, who I really only bring up because of the trophy He's So Annoying, which is to kill him every possible way. Basically, every time you enter into a section where you guide Grashneg, let him die once and then restart the checkpoint. We won't get the reward until the end of chapter 6, but that's really his only purpose. The veteran, okay. Nice. Well, that and backstabbing Gollum as they try to escape Mordor together, but first, before that, it was on this escape route we strangled our 10th orc, Murderer, and then got left behind by Grashneg, needing to find a way out of Mordor ourselves. Yeah. You stupid game. The traitor. Grash doesn't get far in Mordor without Gollum though, so with forgiveness and a murder plot in our heart, we take him to Shelob's lair, which after almost 7 hours is finally a new area to explore. Story-wise, not a lot happens here, but we did need to back up our save before this Gollum and Smeagol argument, because we actually need to side with Gollum this time in order to get the final kill on the Grashneg. So we win that argument, Crash Bandicoot our way down, and just like that, the trophy was ours. Come on. There we go. He's so annoying. And the spider. And we could reload the save to continue on with Smeagol's choices, Crash Bandicoot some more, and Grashneg still dies to Shelob. So he just dies anyway, what the f***'s the point? The illusion of choice, but then the guide says, hey, you have to pick Gollum. What in the telltale is this shit? Yeah, this is what I mean when I say these decisions don't make any bloody difference. But all of this was just Gollum's recounting of the story as we just appear in Mirkwood, having been captured by elves and interrogated by Gandalf. Like 1 minute we're in Mordor, the next we're not. There's no moment showing us being captured. But hey, at least it's another new environment, new enemies to hide from as we can't take out any elves regardless, and at least the trophies started picking up from here. Once again, we need to escape captivity, and to do that we need to free an elf named Mel, another prisoner, and most of chapter 7 is just finding a way to do that by hopefully finding Mel's mentor, the Riddle Master, and his source of magic that keeps us stuck here. Along the way though, we made sure to steal some food from Mel's table. Interesting name, but we'll take that. Went for a swim and caught a fish. And now we wish. Painstakingly swam around the same pond for a good 20 minutes. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. River Hobbit. Okay, we don't have to do that anymore. That was so bad. Gathered our 20th collectible. And all this Did not expect that one. Collectibles part 2. And jumped from the big towers 3 times. Hey, that was 3. That was not the same tower, by the way, which is what the trophy said. We'll take it though. Before finding said magic and getting the hell out of Dodge. Good as fish. We didn't find the Riddle Master yet though, which is still what we're trying to do as we guide Mel through the woods, making sure to ring all the bells. Made a song. Finding all the food options for Mel to eat something. So tasty. And playing a game of riddles with Mel enough times over the past 2 chapters. Master of the old game. Before being separated from Mel in Thanos' nuts and getting captured again by the Mirkwood elves. It's bad. Her eyes! The elves try to play nice, but we still need to get the hell out of here and back to Mel, making sure to spin this sign in the Riddle Master's quarters enough times. So silly. Before orcs attack the elves, leaving us room to escape. However, this is where another trophy begins called Elf Friend, where we need to save the cook before escaping the attack. It is. Woohoo! 1 chapter to go. The orcs are everywhere with still no sight of Mel, but we have another elf in need of saving, a pretty tense chase scene to get past. Oh, ah! That scared me so badly. And then finally, the Candleman reappears and catches us at the source of the magic as he's trying to take it for Sauron. Oh, our bird ratted us out, by the way. That's how Mel and I both got caught. We make our way inside the magic barrier. I found the last collectible I needed. Hey, there is a trophy. Cool. Rule them all. Saved the Riddle Master by again backing up my save and siding with Gollum. There we go. Elf friend. You saved the cook, the elf guards, and the Riddle Master. Reloaded my save and sided with Smeagol for the final time. It is. Good Smeagol. And with a quick platforming segment and final boss with the Candleman, we stop him from getting the magic. The friend. That's chapter 10. Gollum leaves Mirkwood, gets trapped in Moria, and that's the Gollum game done. Well, our first playthrough anyway. Again, this story is just a snooze fest from beginning to end, but at least it was over. However, before starting up that second playthrough, I wanted to do some trophy cleanup beforehand for things we missed or couldn't do along the way, like just spamming stones until a trophy popped. I have no idea how many stones I threw in the first place, so we'll see. Alright, we were pretty close to that one. Turned out a bunch of lanterns. There we go. Sweet darkness. Oh, I thought that was bugged on me for a second. And discovered all the vantage points in the game, which was my only experience with a bugged trophy. As we should have unlocked this during the playthrough, but upon reloading the final chapter, it unlocked, thankfully. Yes, it popped. Ooh-wee! I was like, let me just play a little bit more of this level and we'll get that one. Before we got the 2 longer trophies I still needed, which yes meant we needed to retry Nervous Hands. This isn't necessarily a difficult trophy, but originally I thought it was Don't Die, not Don't Take Damage. So upon retrying and really taking my time, because again, the platforming is so suspect the entire game, I did manage to get this one done pretty quickly. It popped. Good. 33. Nervous Hands. Complete a segment without taking damage. Leaving just the trophy, We Hates Them, which this time involves letting the elf cook, guard, and riddle master die. This one is pretty straightforward. Just leave behind the cook, throw a rock to distract the guard in the standoff, and once again side with Smeagol to kill the riddle master, and you're done. We Hates Them. That just left 2 trophies, 3 if we include the platinum, to go. And yes, it was finally time for that second playthrough where we not only needed to side with Gollum this time, but also complete the game without dying a single time. Now the Gollum choices are whatever. The not dying trophy though might be one of the most sadistic trophies I've experienced since re-entering the trophy hunting space. This is not a short game. You're looking at about 9 hours or so, which is technically short, but not for a game with a don't die trophy. And again, the gameplay just isn't consistent enough to even warrant this being a good idea. I guarantee no one on the team thought about this trophy twice, because you'd have to be a moron to think, yeah, we made a game so polished that not dying whilst a challenge is a fair one. Because it isn't. For this reason, and the fact that there is no consistency in how the game plays, there was no way I was doing this legitimately permadeath. Like, that's just not happening. So what I did was save scummed my way to the end. Every 10 to 20 minutes, I made sure to back up my save file to the cloud, and that way I wouldn't be stuck in replay hell. I still would have to replay portions due to how fun this game is to play, and some cockiness on my behalf, but at least I wouldn't be stuck replaying this game until I'm 50. This is a game that if it were more polished, I could see genuinely being able to go from start to finish legitimately without dying being a fair challenge, because it's really not that hard in terms of stealth. But the platforming is just too damn broken and unreliable. I shouldn't have to hold my breath after every jump because I don't know where the hell I'm going to end up. Again, this wasn't a short process, taking another 9 to 10 hours to complete, but after what felt like an eternity, I completed all the Gollum choices. We wants it, we needs it. That's at least one of the 2 trophies we need. And beat the game once again to end my time with Gollum for good. Yes! How did you do that? I'm shaking. Perfectionist! Yes! Oh, God. Hell, man. I was really nervous that wasn't gonna work. I was so nervous. So, after 25 hours in total, the guide was spot on, but it's the longest 25 hours of your life. What did I think of Gollum's Platinum Trophy and the game in general? Let's start with the game, because the 2 sort of intertwine. First of all, is Gollum the worst game I've ever played? No, that honor still goes to a few other titles. I've played some bad games in my day. but it's definitely on the list. Now you may have noticed I didn't bring up any bugs or glitches really in this video, and that's because in that regard, I had a very smooth experience outside of this wall that would never let me jump backwards. All the falling through maps and the game hard locking you from continuing, I did not experience. I got to experience this game at its best basically, and it was still so dreadful. The visuals and voice performances are truly terrible, the story is just a waste of time, and the gameplay is so unbelievably inconsistent. The biggest thing I learned when going for this platinum and playing the game was don't expect things to work. Don't expect trophies to pop, for jumps to work like they should, enemies to behave consistently. Don't expect that to work because there is a good chance it won't. Don't give this game a reason to fuck you over, and you'll have a more sane experience. That's a big reason I save scummed the deathless run, because I had deaths even there that were complete crap, and the thought of having those moments late in the game and starting again, yeah, no thank you. I'm good. I'm glad I never have to play this game ever again. It's off my backlog, it's a nice rare platinum, but I never want to see this game again, and unless you can make some money off doing something like this, I beg you to stay away. Trust me, the meme of playing this game wears off quickly and you're just stuck playing a terrible game that should never have existed, let alone released. Also, you make a Gollum game and don't name the platinum trophy My Precious. What the hell's wrong with you? Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to leave a comment with Shire Baggins to let me know that you made it to the end. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave it a like because it helps let me know that you enjoyed yourself. Comment below some more games you want to see get platinum next, as well as answering what's the worst game you've ever played. Thank you as always to my channel members for that extra level of support, and special thanks to those in the Bear Club, G&T Puppy, Jackie White, Nugget, Darkwolf, Daniel Fitzgerald, Scott Unwin, Steel Vanguard, NPO Crusader, Nef, and Lug Knights. It really does mean a lot to me. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Go give my socials a follow if you fancy at MayorHairBear. Join the Discord server to have a chat. Go and chuck me a follow on Twitch if you want to see most of these platinum journeys live, or MayorHairBear VODs if you can't make the streams but still want to watch hours and hours of content at your own pace. And I'll catch you all in the next video.